I do want to make it clear that everything I am about to say regarding the Asus ROG Strix X870 motherboard is from an updated BIOS perspective. When it comes down to new platforms, I always update the BIOS. That is the first thing that I do, because companies, just using games as an example, how often do you get a game that releases and it's playable right when it launches? No. You got to go through like 2 or 3 updates before it's even somewhat enjoyable. Now, I do understand that technology is not the same thing, and I'm sure that the first BIOS was perfectly fine, but I just wanted to clear this up, that everything I am about to say is coming from an updated BIOS perspective. And I wanted to say that because the fact that I'm able to get a stable Expo profile with 4 sticks of RAM running at 8,000 megahertz, that is the first time I have ever been able to get a stable Expo profile, let alone an Expo profile running at 8,000 megahertz. That is wild. So, and I want to make it clear that that is coming from a DDR5 perspective. I'm fully aware that DDR4 has been stable for a very long time, and I do understand that 14th generation Intel has had stable XMP profiles for quite some time, but the MSI Edge and then the MSI TI Edge, those were the first 2 motherboards of computers that I built where I was actually able to get stable XMP profiles with 4 sticks of DDR5. DDR5, for some reason, it's still, I mean, it's not brand new, but as far as like XMP and Expo profiles go, you know, it's always been very difficult for me to get stable profiles with that. Now, I do want to say that I went from a 14th generation i9 14900K over to an Ryzen 9 9950X, which I have been dailying now for a few weeks just to see the difference on the content creation side of things. And then I do also have an Ultra 9 285K that I'm going to be using for a few weeks that I finally got my hands on, just to see the difference between all of them. I'm fully aware that the 9000 series and the Ultra series is the quote-unquote new CPUs, but the 14th generation is still competing with the Ultra series, despite the whatever whole fiasco that went up with the failing CPUs and stuff. But again, kind of describes why I said what I said at the very beginning. Anytime I get parts, I always update the BIOS. It's the first thing that I do. And the benefit of Asus is that they do have the BIOS update where you don't even need a CPU inside of the motherboard in order to do that. However, Asus is really annoying with their BIOS updates because it is the longest one to update. If you get a Gigabyte motherboard, an MSI motherboard, an ASRock motherboard, etc., you update the BIOS and it takes like maybe 5 minutes, 10 maximum. Whereas you update the BIOS on an Asus motherboard and you're looking at like a 20 to 30 minute period, and you're going to think that you bricked your motherboard, but you didn't. It's just, for some reason, Asus's BIOS updates just take forever to do. So I know that was a little bit of a long explanation here for the motherboard, but I really wanted to clear that up because that is very important to what I'm about to say. From a content creation side of things, that is my main focus, and I do want to say all of the parts inside of this computer are working together. So I got a high-end CPU. I got a high-end graphics card. I got a very good NVMe. I got very good RAM inside of this, and it is all working together. So the 4K video editing process with this is so much better. It is so much better than the 14900K. And keep in mind, I build higher end premium computers. So the 14900K computer that I was using also had a 4080, also had the same Samsung NVMe, also had a good power supply, a good motherboard. The RAM in that one was running at 6,000 megahertz, not 8,000, because the Z790 doesn't support 8,000, as far as I'm aware, at least. And yeah, I'm just very surprised with this, and I'm very excited to get the Ultra 9 285K. Fully aware, gaming not very good, but I'm not really. I don't really care whether or not I get 20 FPS more inside of a video game. I care much more about being able to render out a video 25% faster. That's what I care about. I care about the productivity side of things, the content creation side of things, the photo editing side of things, now with artificial intelligence, that side of things. and that kind of stuff. I really just don't care if if I'm playing a game at 4K 100 FPS with the 9800X 3D, or if I'm playing a game or the 9950X, and then if I get the 9800X 3D, if I'm going to be playing that game at 130 FPS. I just really don't care if I'm going to get 20 or 30 FPS with a game running at 4K. You know, I just don't care. But yeah, I highly recommend this motherboard. It looks incredible. Everything worked really well. Again, I did update the BIOS, but it is the first thing that I always do, and it's honestly probably the first thing that everybody should do. So I highly recommend this thing.